Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Please type into the chat if you can hear me. We are pleased to have a dynamic set of speakers today. Thank you all for your patience as we were getting prepared to start. We are excited to have the fantastic lineup today to talk to you about dynamic event fundraising for maximum donations. A couple of quick housekeeping. We will be, and we are recording this webinar, so you will be able to get a link to this tomorrow. So in case you missed anything, you can review it. You can share it with your colleagues. Also, if you have any other issues with audio, try dialing in by phone by clicking on the More icon at the top of your screen. And once you do so, you can dial in by phone. And without further ado, I'm going to get started here. We have a great lineup. We're super excited to have Angela McIntosh from Salvation Army, Heather Ripley from the Larkin Street Youth Services, Ibiere Seck from the Langston Bar Association, Lauren Hopkins from the YMCA, and our very own Jeremy Koenig. We're going to be talking today about event fundraising truths, some essential tips to ensure you reach your goal, and we'll talk about 3 success stories. One from the Larkin Street Youth Services, another from Langston Bar Association, another finally from YMCA. So you can all hear about what they experienced, what they learned, their tips and recommendations for event fundraising. We're going to go through a live demo so you can actually see how it'll work and learn a little bit more about how MobileCause makes it all happen. And again, we'll leave hopefully a good about 10 minutes, maybe more at the end of the presentation to answer as many questions as you may all have. Feel free to type your questions into the chat on the left. We will be collecting those and getting to as many of them as possible. So we're very pleased to have all of you. Now I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Angela McIntosh, who was raised by a family of nonprofit CEOs. Angela grew up on the inside of nonprofit development in a cause-driven environment. She developed a heart for people in need. She was formerly the head of product for MobileCause and has more than 10 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. She was so successful in implementing event fundraising for more than 500 nonprofit organizations that she was poached by the Salvation Army and now runs digital strategy for that organization. We're very pleased to have Angela today. Thank you all for joining, and thanks for joining us, Angela.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the intro. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, that's a very kind way to say that I'm just like you guys. I'm the guy who, somebody throws an event in your lap at the last minute, and I stay up all night until I figure out how to do it right. Fortunately, early in my event planning career, I had the opportunity to do this for so many nonprofits, and we did all kinds of events in LA. We've done events all across the country, and it's really exciting to be able to talk to you guys about some of the things that really don't change about event fundraising and some of the things that are really rapidly shifting right now. So here's some timeless event fundraising truths. The heart of fundraising really never changes. That's completely true. The most important thing about launching your event, as I'm sure most of you know already, is your invitation list. Getting your attendee list to your event to be diverse and varied, to have a nice mix of people who have never heard of you before and people who are longtime friends. People that are on different levels of the wealth ladder are also really important. Filling the room is really the most basic fundamental step. So we've seen people be really successful by, having people from their boards, and certainly here at the Salvation Army, we rely heavily on our advisory boards to recruit for our events. We have corporate tables. We have table captains where a board member will be responsible to, invite 10 or 15 people. depending on what the seating arrangement is like. And getting them in the room is sort of 80% of the heavy lifting, right? Getting the right folks there. The second big piece is captivating the audience with storytelling. And this has kind of been a buzzword over the last couple of years. It's a little bit annoying. Every conference you go to is like all about storytelling and, all about how that works and being compelling. And if you tell the story right, and when you make the ask won't be hard. If you're making your ask in a live event setting and it's challenging to ask for the money at the end of your story, then the story wasn't really all the way flushed out. That's probably the truth there. So what we found is that there is a really very precise sort of best practice as to how you lay out the timing of your event, from when the dinner plates go down to when the video plays, how early the ask happens in the evening, not surprising people at the end of the night, creating a moment of celebration. All of these pieces are really sort of important pieces of your live event. So there's quite a bit of documentation that we produced over the last maybe 4 years, going to all different types of events, animal causes, political causes, social services, legal aid, everywhere across the spectrum. And really, they really all operate basically about the same. You bring people into the dinner, you let them have salad, you let them have a chance to talk, and you open immediately with the most captivating thing that you can, right? If you have a video, you play the video, and then you set up your ask right away. Once the story is told, and you make the ask, that's when the MobileCause on-screen product that you guys are going to see in just a few minutes really catalyzes the audience. It changes the decision-making from being an individual decision to being a community giving opportunity, and I think that's what's really special about what you're going to see. So captivating the audience with storytelling is really important, and putting that storytelling right at the front of the night so that nobody is surprised is also really important. The other thing is that you want to always empower people to make a difference. You always want to tell people, when you participate tonight, this is the outcome that's going to happen as a result. And in that way, you give people the opportunity to drive the societal change that they want to see. And then, of course, you want to keep supporters connected to what's happening. How does it relate to them? How are you going to communicate with them in the future? Because it's not just the ask, right? You want them to come back next year to your event. And so the idea is that you keep in communication with them throughout the year. So here's 8 essential tips to ensure that you reach your goal. Mobile technology has fundamentally changed the way we connect and give. That's completely true. Not just SMS, but mobile email. 60% of email, I'm told, is opened on a mobile device first now. It's a drastic shift in the way that people consume the content you send them. So you want to be sure that everything you do is responsive. Your donation pages, your event landing page, your emails that you send to the event. Social media, you're off the hook because Facebook and Twitter are going to make it mobile for you, which is great. But text message is also really, really nice for your high-end CEO folks that just want to get a bite-sized piece of information. So you want to make it convenient for people to RSVP. A really simple sign-up system and ticketing system is ideal. And you want to make sure that your RSVP landing page is optimized for conversion. The second thing you want to do is make sure that if people can't be there, that they can make donations in lieu of attendance. And we're going to show you some really cool, I'm sure Jeremy will show you some really cool stuff in a few minutes to show how those out-of-towners can be very present in the event itself. So you want to send mobile alerts before, during, and after events. So in the registration, include mobile number as an option so that you can lead up with a text message maybe 3 days out. Hey, we're really excited to see you at this event. In Los Angeles, we do so many of these in a year, but Los Angeles is known for being flaky on attendance. And so for us, sending something 3 days out and the day of is really, really helpful in retaining people coming to the event, especially if they're a new donor that you're trying to draw in, or if they're coming in on somebody else's relationship. It's really nice to be able to have that very personal touch point. And then you want to empower ambassadors with crowdfunding. So what we do in our Red Kettle kickoff luncheons is each table actually has a virtual Red Kettle that runs on MobileCause's crowdfunding platform. So the table captains are responsible to raise a certain amount of money, and they actually compete against each other to raise that amount of money. And then on the day of the event, how much has been raised leading up to the event is actually shown on the screen in that live event environment. So each table captain is being credited for the amount of money that they raised even outside the dinner. And the dinner is actually positioned as a sort of celebration of the raise. Use video to invite, remind, and thank participants. Absolutely. Video is much more compelling, especially in Facebook and in Instagram, where you have autoplay. You want to really keep in mind that sound is less important, because people are going to see the visual animate first before they click to the sound, and or if they click to the sound. At the Salvation Army this year, we took a big, bold stand in our video marketing over Christmas, and we cut our spots. 2 years ago, they were 60-second spots. Last year, they were 30-second spots. This year, they were 15, and that boosted our video completion rate to like 96%. So almost 100% of people made it to the end of the video, which is fantastic, because the call to action always happens at the end in video. So that means more people got the opportunity to get, which is great. 15 seconds is also the cap for Instagram. So it makes our content significantly more shareable across more platforms. Make a live giving demonstration. Never passively ask for donations. Let me tell you a great story. I've been to some events where there have been like powerful celebrities standing on stage. In fact, Jane Lynch, she, right at the height of when Glee had first come out, and she was Coach Sue Sylvester. She was like so popular. She stood on the stage at the Alliance for Children's Rights, and they refused to do any on-screen element. And that dinner raised a significant amount of money, but they didn't want to do the on-screen element. So when she made the ask for text messaging, only 2 people responded. And it was insane, because they had goals set against the text messaging that they didn't hit, because there was no way for people to see how they had impacted the evening. And there was no way for those folks at the end of the night to tell how much the evening had raised altogether. And so it was just a huge lost opportunity. Conversely, we did an event for the Japanese American Historical Society downtown, and they decided that they were going to put everything on screen. All their online gifts, all their offline gifts, all the crowdfunding. They had volunteers taking paper pledges and checks, because the Japanese American soldiers who had survived World War II were very, very old. So many of them were not necessarily online givers. They wanted to write a check. So we took the checks and we funneled them all into the MobileCause system, and we watched it in a room full of only 200 people. They raised over $100,000 in less than 15 minutes. And that's all a factor of having that live giving demonstration happen right there, making it a very interactive moment, allowing people to really be involved in the celebration. Recognizing donations in real time until the goal is reached is an extension of that, right? And you're going to see our online interactive piece in just a few minutes, and I'm sure you're getting excited about that. But it allows people to see, like, okay, we see people give more than once, or they make the decision about what they're going to give, and they give just a little bit more because you're trying to reach that goal, and they understand where we're getting all together. And it really is a catalyzing event. It's sort of a gasp moment, which is fantastic. So they also get to see their name on the screen, which for vanity's sake, you'd be surprised, how important that is to people, especially if you add a layer of competition. Some of our more fun events have been, we did a service members organization one time where the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marines, and the Air Force were all competing against one another in separate thermometer screens. And it's just a lot of energy in the room. It's really exciting, and it makes the fundraising less. Nobody's hemming and hawing. Nobody's shuffling their feet and saying, "Oh, we hope that you give us money." It makes the raising part of the night not a chore anymore. It makes it the main focus, and it makes it something that everybody contribute to. And the final thing is provide multiple ways for people to donate: check, cash, smartphone, swiper. That's absolutely true. And I recommend rolling in all of those components into that thermometer screen throughout the evening so that people can see, regardless of how they give. Even with silent auction, we've gone through and done, put in the silent auction totals and the winners into the thermometer. And it's been just an awesome thing for us. I'm sorry I'm heavy on the thermometer talk today, but it really is, for me, the central piece of what drives incremental revenue at a live event. So I'm a little bit of an evangelist, and I know I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, and he is going to introduce our next panelist, who is a customer and who probably will be a little bit less biased than I am, but I've seen more than $1 million raised with this tool, and it's been a really, one of the more singularly effective tools that I've ever used in my career. So I'm excited to turn it back over to Chris and to hear from our next panelist.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. That was great, everyone. So again, if you have any questions, we will be reserving about 10 minutes at the end. So if you have questions for Angela, thank you so much for that insightful experience, and it's fantastic. So again, everyone, we will be sending out a link tomorrow to all of your email addresses that you used to register, so you can review this insight from Angela and our next speakers again tomorrow and with your colleagues. And we're definitely keeping track of these questions that you're asking, so we'll get as many of them answered as we can. So now moving ahead, I would like to welcome Heather Ripley, who is part of the development team at Larkin Street Youth Services, who has worked in nonprofits either event-focused or as a development manager and director for over 12 years. She has been with Larkin Street since May of 2013, and we're pleased to have Heather with us today. Hi, Heather.
Hi there. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today. And I might want to just start, if you could, maybe tell us a little bit about, sort of the goals kind of before you started implementing kind of this sort of latest version of how you were handling fundraising at events. And maybe, what were some of your goals that you were looking to accomplish?
Well, we first started to consider using MobileCause at an event that we had never done any fundraising at. It was about the 8th year that we had done this event. We do other large fundraising events, but this was more of an awardee event. It's a partnership with the San Francisco Business Times, and we actually considered doing it because some of the attendees and the longtime sponsors of this particular event, it happens in June, requested that we need to learn. We need the guests and the audience to learn more about Larkin Street. We were sort of more in the background. We were the event producer, but and any of the funds that were raised at this event did come to Larkin Street, but it was the first time we decided to introduce this to this audience. So because it's for CFOs, chief financial officers, we decided to use something that was tech savvy. And here we are in San Francisco, so we need to be aware, be forward thinking. So our goal, this was in 2013, our goal for this event for the fundraising element was about $18,000, and we ended up exceeding that to $24,000. So it was we felt very positive about it, and we did it again the following year, raising over $50,000 at that event for the fundraising element.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. Sorry, I wasn't sure. Was there?
Yeah, I had a little technical difficulty. I am back. So wonderful. So I guess, you'd shared with me when we spoke about a lot of great insights that you'd learned from kind of going through this. And, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about, some of the key things that you learned in actually kind of implementing this with your events.
Sure. I want to reiterate what the previous speaker had mentioned, making it fun and engaging. We made sure that we had one of our board members who's very young, very entertaining. He has this very cool English accent, and he came on stage and he actually pretended to borrow a friend's phone and do a text on his friend's phone. And I think that helped, that he was able to explain. I think one of the important things is to make it easy for people to understand the process and for them to understand that it's not a direct donation on their cell phone, on their business cell phone, that it is a pledge and that they will be called later. So we had directions on the screen before we went to the thermometer. We had collateral out at the tables. We had information in the printed program. And we had our board members also speak to their guests at the table to explain that it's not a direct donation, that it is a pledge. And then another thing that we learned, which follows other fundraising principles for Fund My Future or Fund the Need, is that we didn't have all of the donations happen at once. We did have a few plants in the audience with our board members promising to pledge at a certain amount, but we didn't flood the market, so to speak, with all of those donations all at once. We spaced them out so that the thermometer continued to grow in large amounts. That was another element that we realized it worked a lot better. And then for last year at our 2014 event, we decided to put two people on stage. One of them is a very well-respected, she's the actual publisher of the San Francisco Business Times. So her and the other speaker, Jeremy, came on stage, and we had them come up a second time towards the end of the evening so that we could see where our goal, that we had reached our goal, and to thank everybody from the audience, in the audience at that point. So, we followed through so that everyone understood that they were part of reaching that larger goal for Larkin Street.
And I think that, and maybe just to reiterate to the audience, because you kind of touched on it here, it's just sort of like building momentum, right, at the actual event, and that, maybe you could shed just a little bit more light on, just to restate that for the audience, because that was kind of a critical takeaway, is, how do you maintain that momentum, and how long do you show the thermometer?
Well, yeah. So again, the person that is that's introducing the program really needs to be sensitive to how long that the thermometer is up there. If this event, if we were not reaching our goal and the thermometer was not raising to a high amount, and he needs to be very sensitive to where the room is and to shut it down quickly as possible, to thank everybody, obviously, but to not linger when that thermometer is not being not raising, because it will kill the room will definitely die and you'll lose momentum. So he needs to be very sensitive to that, and or be in touch with you as a fundraising professional. You need to be able to give them a cue, or just that we're going to shut it down. I think that's definitely critical.
Right. Well, so I think this is terrific insight. We have a lot of great questions coming in, and just so we can make sure we get all of the content out to all of you that are attending, I'd like to be able to move on. So thank you so much, Heather. And again, everyone, we've got some additional questions. I'd like to introduce now Ibiere from the Langston Bar Association. Ibiere Seck is a senior associate at the Cochran firm, a graduate of Loyola Law School, and proudly serves on the board of governors for the Los Angeles Trial Lawyers Charities, where she assists in identifying and supporting not-for-profit organizations dedicated to serving low-income women and children in California. She also serves on the board of the Langston Bar Association as the chair of the scholarship committee. So we're pleased to have Ibiere join us today. And thank you again so much, Heather. Again, everyone, if you have questions for Heather specifically about her insights, please type them into chat, and we'll do our best to answer those as much as possible. And Ibiere, maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of your goals and for implementing this with the Langston Bar Association and what you learned.
I would love to. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction, and great job, Heather. So I was first introduced to MobileCause sometime last year. I saw a organization, Inner City Law Center, located here in Los Angeles, put on a phenomenal event. And one of the highlights of that event was the Text to Give portion of the program, and I was just stunned at how successful they were in raising money so quickly. And this was at a luncheon, no less. So I didn't expect people to, give as much as they did. And so I immediately went back to my board, and I told them that I wanted to implement the same program into our gala. And I was hesitant only because we had never done anything like that, and I wasn't sure that people were going to participate. So we decided that we would reach out to MobileCause, and I found that it was incredibly easy to use the program, and the training leading up to it was really helpful as well. The goal for our organization, which is a bar association here in Los Angeles, was to raise a nominal amount of money. We set a goal for $10,000. We typically give away $50,000 in scholarships each year to deserving law students. And so what we were trying to do was raise enough so that we could add another recipient to our list of recipients for next year. And so what was really helpful for us was the Text to Give program followed immediately after the award presentation. And so the crowd was so enthusiastic and so inspired by these students that it was very easy to just flow right into this. By the way, everyone, would you mind giving money for next year's students? And it was a complete success, and we exceeded our expectations, or exceeded our goal. And so I found that had we not done that, we would have more or less had to rely on our standard practice, which is to reach out to law firms or other organizations and ask them to simply send us a check. And some do. But for this gala, it was really easy to just get everyone in the room to just give to make a contribution, to play their part, and it did work out for us.
Fantastic. And what, is there any piece of insight that, you could share with the audience, having, gone through this? I mean, is there sort of one big takeaway, or maybe a couple that you might want to share with everyone that they could benefit from?
Yes. Heather touched on a few of them. Just the plants in the audience is really helpful because you want to build the momentum. But what I found was really important was that you have to be as enthusiastic about asking for money as you are about receiving money. So a lot of planning went into making sure that the Text to Give program was in the appropriate part of the program or the evening, that we had the proper people asking for the money, that we were directly acknowledging every single person whose name came up on the screen. The thermometer worked wonders for us because I think that's what really motivated people to give. In fact, towards the end of the program, our Text to Give portion of the program was only maybe 10 minutes at the most. But after we were done, we took everything off the screen, and then at the end of the program, we put it back on the screen, and people were able to see how much we raised, and they gave even more. So I thought it was just it's important to read the room and get a sense of what people are feeling, and take advantage of it. If they're feeling generous, ask for more. If and you shouldn't be ashamed about doing so. But having really enthusiastic people who are not afraid to ask for money and to call out people in the room if they're not giving, I think really helps as well. One other thing I think is important to note is that I wasn't aware of the fact, I knew that people were pledging, but when you get to the end of the program, you have all this money. Not everyone follows through on their pledges right away. And so MobileCause is set up so that you can send reminders, but it's there'll be cases where you're actually going to have to call people and say, look, thank you for your donation or your pledge, but we'd love for you to follow through on it. And so that was another piece of the pie another piece of the initiative that we had to really be prepared for. And so once we figured that out, it was really easy to get that money as well. But you do have to follow through because not everyone is going to be able to follow through on their pledges right away.
Right, interesting. So just even though MobileCause obviously does send automated reminders, you still have to follow up with some people by phone.
Absolutely. And it's really helpful that the way MobileCause is set up, you can filter it so you can see everyone who didn't pledge. And I actually recognized a number of the names, so I just called them directly, and they sent the check.
Right.
So.
And so now, I guess, in sort of final thought, like what's next? Where do you see you going, or where do you see all of this sort of headed in terms of how organizations can use this type of practice to better their fundraising efforts?
Well, for one, this is our first year using it, so we've only used it at this one event. I felt like we probably should have set a higher goal. So I'm going to follow Heather's footsteps, and I'm going to do it again next year and hopefully quadruple what we raised this year. But I've also seen, in addition to that, I hope to be able to use the program or the MobileCause technology in more than just one program throughout the year. So we just did it for this installation, but we're hoping to do it for our Hall of Fame dinner and a number of other things. But I did get a number of emails from other people who attended our program asking us, can you please connect us with the person who did the technology for the Text to Give program? And they thought it was us. They thought it was our organization, and I immediately directed them to MobileCause. So what I'm seeing within the legal community is that people are catching on to this, and they're seeing that it's successful, and they want to do it or implement it in their programs and organizations. So I'm hoping that we can continue to generate tons of funds for great new programs, and so that we can give more money away. That's the goal.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Ibiere. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. And again, everyone, if you have specific questions for her, we're going to try and leave as much time as we can at the end. So please do type them into chat, and we're super grateful for you sharing your experience with everyone. And I think it's a kind of an important point, even at the end that she mentioned, is that MobileCause is completely hidden from all of this. In a sense, it's it's white labeled, is what they call it, right? So it really actually makes a positive impression on your audience, and that, wow, this is, your organization is really technology savvy and using this amazing platform. It creates a positive, I think, impression overall. So I'm going to now move along and introduce our next speaker, Lauren Hopkins, who's the Director of Development for YMCA of Florida's First Coast. Lauren leads the philanthropic efforts to support the outreach programs of YMCA of Florida's First Coast, with their mission is to nurture the potential of every child and create a healthier community and give back to their neighbors. So thank you for joining us, Lauren.
Welcome. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody.
And we're glad to have you. And as the previous speakers have done, maybe you could share a little bit about what your initial goal was for this particular event and kind of what you went through to deploy it.
Great. Thank you. I'm very excited to talk about our success with MobileCause today. We have an annual campaign at the YMCA, and our goal is to raise $1.6 million through our 14 branches here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're a very volunteer-driven organization. Our volunteers are campaigners for our 14 branches. And so we train them and help them tell the story and go out and raise money on our behalf. And so we have an event to kick off our annual campaign, and it's called the Y Bash. And we held the event this year at the Florida Theater downtown, which is a historic theater. And in the past, we had charged people $25 to come because we had food and drinks and entertainment, but it was sometimes a challenge to get the volunteers to come because you've asked them to volunteer on your behalf, and then you turn around and say, oh, by the way, could you buy a ticket to this event and come learn more about the why? So we decided this year to make the event free. And we ended up having 800 people come, which was amazing. And so as we were planning the event and kind of budgeting to make sure that we could cover our expenses with sponsorships and whatnot, I had been to a local event here and seen a similar sponsor a child type thing through a texting program. And so I looked online and happened to find MobileCause and did a demo and thought it was really cool and brought it back to my team. And so we decided to go for it. We were a little nervous because we've never done anything like this before either. And but we are looking to innovate and do something different. So when we sent out the invitations for YBash and the flyers, we teased it a little bit. We said there will be an interactive giving opportunity that evening. We asked people to text their RSVP. And so we did build a good group ahead of time that we could send out a message to and say, can't wait to see you tomorrow night at the YBash. Here's the parking information, sort of like an insider text list to begin with. And now we have that database, which is great. And so when we got to the actual event, YBash really showcases everything we do at the Y: youth development, healthy living, social responsibility. So we had a couple of actually musical numbers. We had some children dancing, and we had some of our kids who go to day camp sing a really fun camp song. So one of the children came forward. His name is Daniel, and he's 12. And this guy has the best stage presence you've ever seen. He just really knows how to work the crowd, very engaging. And he told his story about how going to camp last summer really changed his life. And he just loved the experience so much. It was just really life-changing. It helped him build his confidence. He made new friends. He tried new things. And it just was awesome. So he said, I really wish more of my friends could come to camp with me next summer. So our CEO, Eric, came out on stage with his cell phone, and he said, well, Daniel, there is a way everyone in this audience can help. And we put up the instructions, and he said, you could text in your donation, use the keyword camp, and we want to send 20 kids to camp. We want to raise $10,000 right now. Let's see. And he put in a pledge himself, and the thermometer went up, and within 3 minutes, we had reached the goal. We had gotten up to $11,000, and we were so thrilled, and it was very, very exciting.
Oh, I was muted. So that's amazing. And so on that topic, it sounds like, did you all rehearse sort of that, that component with the speaker and with your CEO? And what would you recommend to everyone? That they do that kind of thing in advance of the event?
We did. We really wanted to tell the story that camp is not just swimming and arts and crafts, that it really can build confidence in young kids, and it can be life-changing. And we thought by having one of our kids up there sharing his story that it would be compelling and really encourage people to give, to support. And our CEO was funny because he said, well, they told me that I should start the giving, so he put in $500. And then as the thermometer was going, they called out names and said, oh, thanks, Bob, thanks for your donation. And they just kind of went back and forth on the stage, which was really fun. And like I said, in 3 minutes, we were surprised. We had allowed 15 minutes for it, and we did have some plants in the audience. We didn't need it. It just really took off, and at the end we had a huge high five, and the crowd just was clapping. And but I do definitely recommend having a story and really driving it home. And it was nice when people could see their name, and you saw someone you knew, and you want to get your name up there too.
Right. And so it sounds like, again, just to recap, would you recommend that everyone, essentially it's like creating a show? I mean, did you have somewhat of a script, and it sounds like you had plants, but they weren't needed, and so it sounds like you kind of need to have a script with some room for responding dynamically to what's happening in the room. Is that, do you agree with that?
Yes, exactly. And because the YBash itself was showcasing a lot of our programs, we put this in the middle. So we had a few things happening beforehand, and then this was kind of in the middle. And once we did well, then we just went to the next part of the program. But definitely we had rehearsals, and it was part of a script. And but when the guests came, they didn't realize what we were going to ask for. So it was a little bit of a teaser. And we are planning, we have an event next week, actually, and we are planning to use MobileCause again.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I wish we had a lot more time, because I feel like each of you speakers have a lot of great insight to share, and we really don't have enough time to get all of it. So I'm going to try and move on and hopefully reserve a little bit more time, because there's good questions coming in, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can. I guess, is there any kind of sort of final thought or final takeaway that that you'd recommend, having gone through all of this, to everyone that's listening? What kind of insight you might be able to share?
Well, I can say that you get some one-on-one sessions with MobileCause that were really helpful, because Corey, who we worked with, had some great ideas and really helped us feel good about getting ready, and helped us with our goal, and was there, every step of the way, and making sure that that we didn't have any technical difficulties. I mean, all the kind of questions that you worry about, like, oh, it's a live event. What if this happens? What if that happens? And you guys do a great job of being available and, thinking of everything. So once we've done it once, we were excited to try it again. I do, as some of the other speakers mentioned, because we hit our goal so quickly, we really could have asked for more. And so next time, because there's more children who need to go to camp, so we could have just kept raising money all night. But we had said, well, let's just start with $10,000 for 20 kids, and so in the future we'll be able to say, you know what, let's try to send 10 more and really get the crowd behind it, to keep going. Right.
Fantastic. So maybe the takeaway is ask for more, because you're actually seeing that you can get it.
Right, exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's fantastic, and I'm going to move on quickly to our next speaker, and we're going to kind of go through a live demo here. So Jeremy is our Director of Marketing with MobileCause, has more than 10 years experience working with nonprofits, and I'd like to introduce him today and provide you with a little bit of a demo.
Thank you, Chris. First, I'd just love to give a special thanks to our speakers, Angela, Ibiere, and Lauren. You guys are incredible. Lauren, believe it or not, I was scholarship to camp as a kid, and I am largely who I am today because somebody did that for me. Now let's jump right in to our demo to see how easy it is for donors to make gifts at events and your organization to manage those campaigns and collect donations. So at your event, what you're going to tell people to do after your call to action is to pull out their cell phones. Then you're going to instruct them to send a text message to the phone number 41444. You're then going to instruct them in the new message line to text the word Oklahoma space a donation amount space their name. As you can see here, their amount will show up, $5,000, and their name, Scott. And if this were happening in real time, immediately as the person hits send, that name would appear and the thermometer would rise towards the goal. Immediately after sending a text pledge, the donor receives an instant reply message with a link to fulfill their donation. The entire donation process from start to end only takes a couple of minutes to pledge and to fulfill for the donor. Next, I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up a custom registration form inside your account. You can, as you can see here, you can set a ticket or you can make it just be a pure registration form. And the reason why you would want to use a MobileCause registration form is because these people are automatically subscribed to receive text message alerts. This is important because leading up to your event, you can send messages that 99% of the time will be seen and read by event attendees. It's a huge value to your constituents. Next, I'm going to show you how easy it is for organizations to set up keywords, donation forms, and thermometers for live events. The first thing you're going to do is select a keyword. In this case, I've selected Oklahoma. Then you're going to customize your donation form. You can customize suggested donation amounts, recurring gift options, contact fields, custom fields. You can even make the button say whatever you like. Lastly, you're going to customize your fundraising thermometer by uploading your logo, uploading a custom background, and then selecting the color of your thermometer to match your brand. The whole event fundraising campaign process takes about 15 to 30 minutes to get set up. As a lot of our speakers have mentioned, one of the biggest strengths of MobileCause is the ability to display donations on your fundraising thermometer that people have given offline and give with credit cards right there at the event. So here is an example of our offline donation form in which you would take cash, checks, auction items, crowdfunding, whatever, and you can enter it in manually. And just like if the person were to text in a pledge, those amounts and names will show up in real time on the thermometer. Secondarily, you may have some donors at your event that just want to swipe a credit card. They don't want to text a keyword. Those people can be empowered to go up to a table or raise their hand, and one of your representatives can quickly and easily swipe their credit card, and that donation and donor name will immediately appear on screen on the fundraising thermometer. Two other great features of the MobileCause platform are automatic pledge reminders and tax receipts. As you can see here, donors that make a text pledge but do not click the link to fulfill will receive 3 reminder text messages. We have found that these messages in this order dramatically increase the revenues that your organization is able to collect. Once a donor finishes their donation, they receive an on-screen confirmation, a text message notification that they have completed their gift, as well as an email with a link to an official tax receipt. One of the biggest trends today in events is crowdfunding leading up to events. This is one of the most significant ways to bolster revenues through the networks of your donors, staff, and volunteers. Using the MobileCause platform, you can set up a campaign in just a few minutes, and you can empower your entire donor base and volunteers and staff over text message, email, social media, and live in person to set up their own page on their own smartphone with their photo, goal, and call to action to go out there and promote leading up to your event. Again, these donations are all supplemental, and you'll use them to seed the fundraising thermometer. We believe that MobileCause truly is the best solution for a mobile integrated event fundraising experience. Some of the highlights of our platform is that everything is integrated with mobile alerts. We have mobile donation pages that are friendly. We have credit card swipers. We have offline donations. Everything can be triggered by a keyword to show up immediately on screen. We have automated pledge fulfillment. All of our pages are totally secure. We have no transaction fees with flat, industry-leading 2.5% credit card processing. We automate tax receipts. Your organization receives full donor data collection. You can use crowdfunding and integrate that with your fundraising strategy. And again, mobile communication can be used throughout the year after events to strengthen email, social media, and direct mail follow-up. In conclusion, our goal, the MobileCause goal, is to make it as easy and exciting as possible for event attendees to make donations, raise donations, and stay connected to your cause. Thank you very much for listening. Chris, go ahead and let's take it away to questions.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. That's great. And thank you, everybody, again, for attending and all of your great questions. And I know there's a lot to cover here, and we could certainly go into some more advanced details, and potentially we'll do so. We're going to continue to do webinars every month. So certainly other topics or deeper dives into this topic, we'd love to hear your feedback because we want to provide content that's relevant and insightful for all of you to be more more effective in fundraising. So we got a couple of questions, and maybe we'll go back to sort of the beginning, and I'll try and direct them to a couple of our speakers, and potentially Heather. So here's a question for you. If you're still with us, how to balance the fun of the evening with the more formal program ask. Do you have any thoughts on how to do that?
Hi, thanks, Chris, and thanks for the question. I don't know. I think everyone is at these events appreciates to have a lighter side. It is a celebration. When we bring up before our fundraising element, we have a young man or a youth speaker come up to talk about the services he's received at Larkin Street, and we encourage him to be very positive. And then that moves into what Larkin Street has done for him. His future is going to be bright. And so it moves into, people want it to be, they want to have fun. They want to have a positive celebration. It shouldn't be formal and depressing in any way. We're raising money for a great cause, and everyone there is wanting to do that. So I don't really think it's difficult, to be honest. Sorry, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. It's really important.
Well, thank you.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's insightful. And I guess, and so here's another question, and maybe I'll direct this one to Ibiere. Do you find sort of texting, as intrusive, or given it that, some people think that there's a cost to it? How did you, what were your thoughts around that?
Well, what we did is we just assured everyone that the purpose of the Text to Give campaign was to raise money for this event, and that we also remind them that your cell phone company, this is not going to be billed to your cell phone bill. It's actually going to allow you at some point, hopefully tonight, to input your credit card information and make the give right away. And so that alleviated some of the concerns, I think, in the room, and so I don't think we had any problems with that.
Wonderful. And again, everyone, it's just a little bit after the hour, so we're going to just go over just a couple of minutes. We're grateful to everybody taking time out of your day, but I want to get to a couple of questions. If there are additional questions that have come up, certainly you can direct them to MobileCause. And Jeremy, maybe you can tell us, is there a good contact if people do have questions? Where should they direct their questions? Where might we recommend them? Is there a good email address, or what's the best place for people that have additional questions after the webinar that we should send them to?
Yeah, so I just I have the phone number and a link here that you can submit a message. We have about 15 fundraising experts that are eager and ready to talk about solutions for your cause and the way MobileCause solutions can help you reach your goals.